It's that time of the week, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Plank of the Week with me, Mike Gray. I'm delighted to say that this week we are joined by the television legend, Mr. Jeremy Kyle.
How are you?
Am I right? And the Plank of the Week legend, actually, Emma Webb, because you've done this a lot, haven't you? You've been here a long time. This is only your third go, I think, isn't it?
Yes, a third time, and very excited and to be here with Emma.
And I'm very pleased that you're able to squeeze us in, because you've got a show later on today. So we better start with you.
Doing our best.
Give us your first nomination, please.
Anybody that listens to me on the radio will know I'd try really hard, probably too hard. Piers Morgan and I agree on this. Harry and Meghan.
Harry and Meghan.
My planks
Bless
of the week.
them.
Yes, deigned us with their presence, apparently. Flew in a private jet with some very expensive security, because apparently the Home Office won't give them security.
No, of
They're
course
very
not,
angry
no.
about that.
They've now got Barack Obama's man, haven't they?
But I thought you actually didn't want to be anything to do with the United Kingdom,
No.
so we're not going to give any security, OK? We know why you left. You left because you don't want any publicity. So what you're doing is, when you've signed your deal, you're coming back, OK, under the pretence of seeing your grandmother. It was a wonderful experience. Then heading to the Invictus Games, which I think is a great idea. Followed by a camera crew.
Followed by
Netflix.
a Netflix crew, yeah, absolutely.
But you didn't manage to get your backsides over here to come to your grandfather's funeral, which just about sums up why she and he, for me, it's all about money, it's all about them, and it's disgraceful.
Also, they didn't manage to bring their children with them, one of whom has never even seen the Queen, right? Has never met the Queen, and the other one of which hasn't seen anyone in England for 2 years.
No.
So when he was one,
there are a
Archie.
few people who were speculating that one of the reasons they've come, I mean, obviously appalling that they decided to come for what seems like publicity
It's all
reasons
about money.
instead of coming for the ceremony to do with Prince Philip. But some people have suggested that maybe they were coming now because the Queen's health isn't so good. But you would think that they would take this as an opportunity to allow her to see her grandchildren.
You would think.
I think that
There's not going to be many more, are there?
Never mind planks. I think there is an immense cruelty about them.
I think
And
that's
also,
right.
apparently, stuff in the papers today that the Queen, who is, I don't know whether she's nearing the end of her life, but she's obviously trying to placate the situation. She apparently would like them at the Platinum Jubilee on the balcony with the rest of the family. That's not going to happen. For me, the reason I nominated them is it seems to be about them.
Yeah.
It's all about them. It's all about money, and it's not about duty and service. And as I said repeatedly on the radio, if you want to leave the royal family, you do it. You're not getting security. You're not getting titles. You want it because you don't agree to all the intrusion by the press. You've signed your deal, and even now you land back to the camera crew.
And you also shouldn't get to then have another public profile.
No.
Because they are riding on the fact that they are former royals.
Exactly.
Or they are
Absolutely.
presenting
Well,
themselves
And
as
if we're
being
talking about
royals.
security, by the way, where do you think the best bit of security ever this year would have been? It would have been a Prince Philip's memorial service, funeral, whatever, because the entire royal family were out.
And
But
the,
you're right
and
to go to the
heads
Invictus
of state
Games.
and all the rest of it.
They wanted to
But
be
that's the
all
other
about
thing, is that they keep saying they don't wish to be royal. They don't want to have royal titles. She introduced him at the Invictus Games as Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex.
And did you see what she also said? This was what really got me, which is why I had them at the top of my list. This is service. You want to try lecturing the royal family, especially the Queen, you Z-list actress, about what service. Not having it. Not having it, sorry.
And he was going on about he's not going to rest until he can make the world full of equality, which is pretty good coming from him. You know,
Full of equality. Give your Netflix money to the poor people, then. Do that. Give it out. I'll tell you what, take your deal and give it to the Ukrainian. Why wouldn't that be a good idea?
That would be a good idea.
Gross
He's not happy with
millennials.
them. Who's your first one, Emma?
And my first is I'm going to nominate the entire Church of England.
Yes.
The reason for this, or should I say the leadership of the Church of England, is because of Justin Welby's comments about the decision to send migrants to
What an absolute
Rwanda.
plank that man is.
But it's not just him. So I could have nominated just Justin Welby, but it's also the Bishop of York and all of his cronies amongst the bishops. Because one of the reasons why I think that they're such planks is because of the rank hypocrisy of how political they are, and they have made the decision to essentially block Calvin Robinson's ordination because he's somebody who has conservative views. He's being critical. He doesn't believe that the church is institutionally racist. And they are themselves extremely political. So I think that they are hypocrites, and I think that they are not fit to lead the Church of England. I think that the whole situation is a complete disgrace, and they should just keep their nose out.
Yeah, I think they absolutely should. Because also, he gives this idea that he's talking to God and God's instructing him somehow to tell everybody else basically not to vote Tory. You know, I don't think God reads The Guardian, to be honest.
I have to be really careful because I might get into trouble. I couldn't agree with you more. Why don't you get your own house in order, Mr. Welby, whatever you're called?
Right,
Seriously,
Welby.
don't start me on the problems that you've got. Why don't you get... It's like... you know what I understand about religion is, somebody said to me once, in fact, when we got married last year, a really, really nice female vicar got us married, Vicky and I, and she said to me, I said, I've been divorced. And she said, I'm happy to marry you. She said, I think my job should be to bring people back into the church. People like Welby, in my humble opinion, are destroying people.
Well,
to go back to you are not a politician. You are what you are. Keep your nose out. I don't want to read what the church thinks about
this is the
politics.
thing.
No.
I'm an Anglican, and I think that him and the leadership amongst the bishops, they are presiding over the terminal decline of the church, of the parish system.
I agree with you.
They are absolutely ripping the rug from out underneath the Church of England, and they're not helping themselves. They're actually alienating more people. To use the Easter sermon, the most important day in the Christian calendar, to talk about politics and to try and weave your agenda into the sermon in that way. Even the sermon itself was actually quite crap.
Shall I tell you something about that very quickly? So, family were quite religious, moved up here, haven't been. Got to know this vicar in Windsor. In the space of 3 months, she christened my son, buried my dad, and married us. And we'll now go occasionally on a Sunday. Do you know why? Because of her.
Yeah.
Not because of anything I've read about, just because of her. And she created something, and I think it's quite nice. It doesn't make me highly religious, but she's absolutely spot on. He isn't. People will just go, I'm not coming in. It's not a political thing. I don't go to church to be political. I think you're absolutely right. I think the church should look itself in the mirror. I really do.
It really should.
It's a good shout.
Well, I'm going to go away from religion and back to local councils. I don't know if you ever lived under Brent Borough Council, but Brent Borough Council is possibly one of the worst councils that's ever existed. It's always, I think Ken Livingstone was part of it for a while at one point. There's a guy called Bernie Grant who was in Haringey. There was all sorts of people in the 70s that were really
I've got a great story when you've done.
These are the people now who want to rename Gladstone Park, right? Because Gladstone apparently has too many links with slavery. But they don't want to name it something kind of genuinely neutral and nice. They want to name it after Diane Abbott. Now, you say what you like about Diane Abbott. There's lots of things you could name after Diane Abbott. I was going to suggest an abacus. You know, you could name a Diane abacus and sell it as a sort of, a little Christmas trinket. But what the hell are they thinking? They say that they ask school children as young as 5 for suggestions. You're not telling me that the kids came up with Diane Abbott Park.
To give you an idea of what Ken Livingstone did in Brent Council, this was years and years ago, and I didn't even know you were going to suggest it.
Yeah.
They did everything. They changed bus lanes in those years. So you know the bicycle that's painted the white.
Yeah.
A whole of Brent Council removed all that and put bicycles with baskets on because it was sexist and wrong. They moved all
because baskets are girly.
Whiteboards, they became whiteboards, and they renamed. This is absolutely true, definitely true. Manhole covers became access chambers.
No way.
And a bloke wrote to the local, whatever it is, Brent thing, said,
Brent Bugle.
And this is the 70s, and when I know what you're trying to do, and you've now got me in a mood because you've called it an access chamber, and I'm a Barclay card holder because there was an access. That's how mad Brent Council were. Diane Abbott.
Yeah.
One of the other suggestions is diversity fields.
Oh, my God. To add insult to injury, today there's a story which is also involving Brent Council at Wembley. Apparently they confiscated some balloons from people going into a football match, the semi-finals of the FA Cup, because if they burst in a crowd, they could cause panic.
Okay.
All right, then.
We're not shaming a balloon or something.
I mean, so that's the end of balloons then. Anyway, we must run. So second nominee from you, please.
So my second nominee is for the entire world, well, the entirety of the United Kingdom, who are against Priti Patel's suggestion of Rwanda. Now, I absolutely get, right, that the idea of illegal immigrants, and let's get an analogy between them and refugees coming to this country and being shifted off to Rwanda, and a £120 million deal and all of that, a lot of the leftists go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But these are the very people who have spent months, nay, years moaning about immigration. Why don't we as a country go, do you know what? At least we're trying to do something.
Yes.
It might be a flop, it might not work, but isn't it actually nice to think that a government has finally acknowledged something that so many people were too scared to even talk about for years? Immigration is a problem, right? We need to deal with it. Maybe her idea will work, maybe it won't. But all the hand-wringing...
It's a little bit prejudiced of them, isn't it? Because they're making assumptions about Rwanda.
Yeah.
This is actually quite a good deal for Rwanda. From the perspective of Rwandans, this is something that are very welcome.
Money.
Many people in Rwanda have themselves been refugees. They've done this before with people from other places. This leads to investment for Rwanda. This is an entirely positive thing. There was a joint article between Priti Patel and the guy in Rwanda that this deal with her. This is obviously something that is mutually beneficial. They're our allies. We're doing something good with an African country.
You talk about
this is global Britain.
Of course it is. And you talk about allies. The fact is, and if I have to say this again, I'm going to headbutt the wall. France isn't a war-torn country, and if those buggers would actually do something, we wouldn't. It's always the United Kingdom. I'm not saying Rwanda is the be-all and end-all. I don't know if it'll work, but in my mind, at least we're doing something.
Here, to be fair, I mean, I'd rather live in Rwanda than in some kind of alleged 4-star hotel in Slough. You know what I mean? Nothing against Slough.
And the accommodation looks very nice.
Yeah, I'm sure
in
Rwanda's...
Slough or in
well,
Rwanda?
Rwanda's but it's a tourist destination. I mean, they advertise on the Arsenal team shirts.
They do.
Visit Rwanda. Rather ironic that Keir Starmer was an Arsenal fan. Somebody said, imagine if you saw him walking around with a Visit Rwanda shirt.
I'm feeling really angry, actually, because in the midst of this conversation, you talk about allies, and I think of French.
Yes.
And I think of Macron with his shirt open. I want to make it the biggest plank of the decade, but we could.
We could
an honorary mention for that revolting human being as well. There you go.
Right.
But the whole country.
That's a good one. Also, tragically, one of the organisations against moving the migrants to Rwanda is actually the Home Office and all the people working in it, which is absolutely ridiculous. They're supposed to be doing
But this is like the border force not wanting to push back boats. The border force is supposed to protect the borders, but they don't want to.
I'm not saying it'll work, but don't you think we should be saying give it a go?
Of course we should.
And it'll be a vote winner. Let me tell you, it'll be a vote winner.
It doesn't need to work for very long. It can't. The
just
idea
needs to put them off from coming, which I think is what it's going to do.
Yeah,
the only problem with that whole thing, I thought, was by making it only men, the traffickers that we want to stop will then target women. That's what I thought, right? The human traffickers will now target the women who can come to this country.
They might.
It's a start.
They might, but then on the other hand, the men are coming here for a reason, presumably, because they can put them to work in other ways. Emma, who's your second one?
The leader of the free world,
Oh,
President Joe Biden, for shaking. That's what he says every morning when he looks in the mirror.
He's unbelievable.
So Joe Biden shook hands with thin air this week. And it wasn't just the shaking hands with thin air, it was the way that he sort of bumbled around the stage, not being able to find his way off, while this clownish band was playing this sort of...
And he was almost in slow motion, wasn't he? He looked a bit like, do you know that scene in Pulp Fiction where Travolta's kind of turning round, which has become a meme? It looked a bit like that. He sort of didn't know where it was.
I'm so with you. I've been really angry about it. And now I'm actually beginning to feel sorry for the man and angry with the people who've pushed him out there, because it does look like your granddad. And you're right, leader of the free world should be the analogy. I just think I personally think it was a stitch-up. I think they thought Kamala Harris would be the president within 2 years.
But she's even worse. She hasn't got the excuse that she's sort of old and doddery.
I think it was all about Barack Obama and Kamala Harris, and it just didn't work out. I feel sorry because Biden has had years and years of service, and I think he's being humiliated. I think he's humiliating America. I'm really with you.
I think he really is. And one of the things, I mean, I know obviously quite a lot of people over there. My sister lives there. She voted for him, and even she's embarrassed. I mean, people that voted for him are embarrassed at the fact that he's still there and the way that he's going.
Donald will stand again, I bet you.
I'm sure he will, and he'll probably win.
Now.
Did you see as well the time where Barack Obama turned up at the White House and Biden was kind of walking around behind him?
Feigned round him and
nobody was paying any attention to him. And it was like, right. Over here, I'm the president now. And everyone was just talking to Barack Obama, and he was just looking like he was totally
been referred to as America as being a geriocracy or something like that, because the presidents are so geriatric.
Yeah.
But he is just simply too old. Yeah. And in a way, I'm concerned. I think that he's not well enough to be, and not compass mentis enough to be leading a country. It's an embarrassment, not just for the United States.
I've shit the wrong hand.
I know.
But as a serious ally for most Western countries, this actually has quite serious implications. So
I think it's really serious, and I think
you're right. It's a bit sad,
mistake.
Actually. I'm going to go with Nicola Sturgeon this week because, of course, the woman who has the most ridiculous rules for COVID, even though only this week did they lift the mask mandate that you had to wear. A friend of mine was up there recently, and he said, everyone in every restaurant was wearing a mask. You had to, take the mask off if you wanted to sit down. That was fine. But basically, walking in with a mask, going to the toilet with a mask, masks on public transport. She goes to a barber's shop, wearing a mask for the camera.
Have a beer, Jay. I hate her. Sorry,
I know.
That's what the mask is for.
She's such a poisonous little witch.
I know.
I don't like her.
I mean, I used to know her quite well.
Did you?
Yeah, when I was working in Scotland, before she was the leader, she was quite personable, and we used to drink in Reganos together.
With a mask?
I wore one, yeah. Just obviously because I didn't want my wife to know I was there. No. But so she's become this kind of automaton, it seems. And, of course, she completely controls everything up there. So the police went to have a word with her, but the police did not take any further action. And you can imagine if that was an ordinary member of the public, or you, or me, you know, we would have been prosecuted to within an inch of our lives.
I know I was quite flippant about her. I'll tell you why she annoys me, and I'm sort of with you. She was more impressive when she was trying to get the job. Everything she did during the pandemic seemed to be to score points against this country and Boris Johnson.
To make everything harder.
To do the complete opposite to what the United Kingdom, England was doing. And I'm not ever sure whether she has Scotland's best interest at heart. And I think she's lost the
it's about
independence.
power.
Oh, she's definitely lost the independence argument.
she's lost
but
that.
also, she was calling for Boris Johnson's resignation immediately at the first party.
And there's
story
that
happened,
footage
right?
of her standing up in Parliament and condemning them all and basically saying, presenting herself as never breaking the rules. And even never mind the not wearing a mask, just simply the footage from in that barbershop of her shaving someone's neck.
I
think
know.
she's
all
very
a bit silly.
sanctimonious.
She's far too sanctimonious, and she's changed, and she's become, as I say, this kind of autocrat in a way.
You don't know her anymore.
No, I mean, we still. They used to try and get her on the show many years ago, but I would say since about 2 years ago, I never hear from her anymore.
No.
You know, she doesn't respond to messages.
Has this left you broken-hearted?
Not particularly.
No?
No. But I mean, if I saw her again, I would enjoy talking to her, but I'd ask her what went wrong. What happened to you? You know, when did you become sort of queen?
Power corrupts and absolute power
I'm afraid
corrupts.
so.
Absolutely. It is true, isn't it?
It is. So your third one?
This is my favourite story of the week. We were doing this in breakfast on Friday evening. Gavin Ashenden was the honorary chaplain to Her Majesty the Queen at St James's Palace. Very religious, same line as you. He has claimed that hot cross buns with novel ingredients, such as the ones you can get with chocolate or cheese and caramel, are the devil at work, really, because literally, a hot cross bun stands for the struggle between the world as it is and the world as we want it to be, he said. He suggested indulgent new ingredients, such as enlarging appetites rather than focusing our minds on the suffering of Christ.
See, I'm
in
with
the
him on
midst
this,
of
though.
what?
I'm with him on this because I said to you the other day, I'm fed up with all of these ridiculous versions of things, you know, like Battenberg cake that's not Battenberg cake, or, you know...
But having a hot cross bun with chocolate in it doesn't mean you're any religious.
Bakewell tarts with mincemeat in. I'm not having that, which they do at Christmas time.
That sounds wrong.
It's wrong. And, you know, all manner of things which come in 58 different varieties.
I know, but this is what's wrong with the church. This goes hand in hand with
I would like to defend Gavin Ashenden because I know Gavin Ashenden. I've met him, and he's a very sound man on many things. And it's also worth noting that he's not Church of England anymore. He converted to Catholicism. So
Christians are sad that symbolism is lost, and the hot cross bun is a symbol of Easter.
Well,
Is
I mean,
it?
he's probably...
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Not the people that buy
I
it.
think
Hot
so. I
cross
think
bun is
I
only
think
sold at Easter. That's
I
the
think
whole
I know
point.
that, but then the defence minister, I asked him, and he went, I had one with tandoori chicken in the other day. It was lovely.
See, that's what's wrong with the government. You know, they haven't got tradition at the heart of this government.
So you two support
I agree.
Gavin?
I agree with him.
I think he's making a point.
Yeah.
I think he's completely enough.
I mean, he did say, didn't he, on your show, he did say that he'd been misrepresented by the
He did
journalist.
actually say, but completely misquoted.
But then, when I said, but you did actually say those words, you went, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, people say they're misrepresented by journalists all the
good
time.
Would you say a hot cross bun is the symbol of it? It's
Easter. You know, it's
It's
Easter. when you get
associated
hot-
with
like
it,
mince
yeah, it's
pie is a
traditional.
symbol. You wouldn't eat a mince pie at Easter.
But
would
I
you?
want to eat a mince pie all year because I love them and it annoys
You've
me
got
that
no
it's
soul,
only...
have you?
What?
You've got no soul. You can't eat mince pies at Easter.
But you could have them all year.
Well, you could, but
Right.
that wouldn't be right. They're for Christmas only.
Why are they for Christmas?
Because that's
Makes them
tradition.
special.
It's
Yes,
a
but
tradition.
what is it about a mince pie? What symbol? Is it symbolistic in terms of
I think
religion?
there's something
It's
about
the
the
same
mincemeat, isn't it?
but it's the same with every.
But it's not
every,
mince, is it?
But every
Oh yeah, but it's mince meat. They
But
call
it's
it
not,
mince
it's
meat.
not
every
mince
culture
meat.
around the world has things that they only eat on a at a particular time.
Ramadan
for
at the moment,
celebration.
of course.
You don't eat
Ramadan.
anything, right?
Ramadan.
You
Nothing from... So my son was telling me about his friend. They get up at 4 o'clock, have a big meal. They're not allowed to have anything, even water, up till 8 o'clock at night.
I know, it's not good.
But I want a mince pie any time during the year because I love them. And hot
But
cross
that doesn't
bun...
Well,
mean
you
but
do
that doesn't
you.
mean they're not symbolic of Christmas. They are still symbolic of Christmas, no matter when you eat.
Well, I think Gavin Ashenden's totally wrong, and I think you should put whatever
Maybe
you want in
you should
whatever.
get that guy on the show who does Christmas dinner every day.
No, that's ridiculous. You're going too
You know.
far now. But I do, like, do you not like a mince pie? Does it not annoy
don't
you?
want one now.
Do you like mince pies?
I do.
Right. So if you had a chance to have one in February, or would you? Why would you?
No.
not
Just
want
make one.
No, I don't
That's
want
what
one.
I'm saying.
No, I don't want one then. I
Is
want
there
one at
anything that
Christmas.
you crave that's only supposed? See, I hate
Like
choc-
lint bunnies. I think lint bunnies are fantastic. And at Christmas, they've started doing these little lint bears that are like the lint bunnies. But I think, no, that's for Easter.
Yeah.
I don't want one of those.
So
at
you
Christmas.
never eat lint chocolate for the rest of the year, bar Easter. You absolutely
Not-
lie
not-
square.
not
your
the bunny.
back.
You can eat the
Yes,
square.
eat the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
box and
But
stuff
not
for a bunny.
the-
And I mean, you can buy 20 lint bunnies
an
at
Easter
Christmas
egg,
at
right?
Easter
So
and make
hot
them
cross
last.
bun is
Yeah.
in fact a Belgian bun without a cross on, isn't it?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so I can eat
But the
them.
cross is only there
I will
because of
taste
Easter.
pies all
The
year.
cross is there because of Easter, because that's what the cross symbolises.
Yeah.
Crucifixion.
Right, Dad, thanks.
There you go. Your third one?
Destroyed that idea.
Very harsh.
My third is the House of Lords.
Quite right, too.
Because they
We
have
should get rid
published-
of Welby from there as well, by the way.
Well,
Oh, he's on
a
that.
nice
300 quid a day,
crossover.
is it?
Yeah.
Nice crossover. Did you get
Yeah,
that?
very good. Very good.
Ba-dum-bum. So I'm nominating the House of Lords because they have published this language guidance
Oh,
to
yes.
all
got a
of
lot
the
of man
peers,
in it, hasn't
which
it?
I'm sure they will all appreciate, most of them being over the age of 70, I think. I don't know what the average age
Nothing
of the
wrong with
laws
that.
is, but it's pretty high.
Yeah.
But these are people who are very much having this sort of woke language code from the younger generation imposed on them. And this includes not saying things like man-made, you have to say synthetic. And
That's ridiculous. What about the House of
not
Lords?
saying ladies and
hang
gentlemen.
on.
Apparently they want them to be addressed as folks.
Folks.
Old
Folks.
folks.
Old folks' home. That's it.
Yeah,
But
old
but
folks
hang on.
are-
How can you call it the House of Lords then? Because
Well, this
surely
is
that's
exactly the
what it's
reason why-
And
actually called.
ladies. And we
But,
can't
you know,
say
I don't
lords
think it
and
is,
ladies.
though.
This is precisely the reason why they're planks, though, not
Yeah.
just because they've published this, but
House of
because
synthetic old people.
it's like Imperial College
God's
London.
waiting room, you could call it.
Imperial College London wanting to decolonise things without
Yes.
noticing that their name is Imperial.
Exactly right. But also, is it not the case that if you are a woman in the House of Lords, you're not actually called a lady, you're called a dame, aren't you?
Baroness.
Or a baroness? Because lady, I think, is... If I'm
Lady?
lady, I think is the wife of a knight, isn't it? So if you're, for
Sir,
example,
the wife
Sir
of
Nicholas
Sir.
Lloyd,
Oh, and Lady...
Eve Pollard
yes.
is Lady Eve Pollard.
Yes,
isn't she?
that's absolutely right.
So it's not lords and ladies, it's lords and baronesses.
No, you're right.
isn't
Sir
it?
and Lady, Lord... no, isn't it Lord and Lady?
I don't think it is.
No, it is.
No, because Baroness
Lord and Lady
Fox,
Eve-
who was sitting here, Claire Fox, who was
I
sitting
think
here.
lady is both... I think a lady might be for a lord and a knight, but I don't know.
Well, don't ask Claire about it because you'll have a very long argument about that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I
What's at
do
the- what's at
totally
the
agree
front?
with you. 300 quid to sit there and do absolutely nothing, and they can change rules. I'd
Yeah.
get rid of the whole thing.
And they can
I'm-
stop the Borders Bill going through, by the way. So they're also in the other camp with the enemies of Rwanda.
Still think those hot cross buns should...
Although
be
sometimes the
whatever
Lords
they
are a
want.
good check in the opposite direction, because when the
Devastating.
House of Commons goes off the rails, very often it's the Lords who are sound.
Well, it used to be like that, but not now because there's too many Liberals in there now, too many Lib Dems.
They're
you
not
know.
elected. It doesn't matter whether they're balanced or not.
They
They're
should
not
stop putting
elected.
people in
Get
there.
rid of them.
This
They
is the
should
problem,
stop-
is it's a hybrid between the old hereditary
Yeah.
system and an
Yeah.
elected
Yeah.
system.
I mean,
where
only
now
in this
you can
country
put
could
your
you
friends
ban
in there.
hereditary peers apart from 99 of them, which is what they've done. So there are still 99 hereditary peers, and every now and again one of them gets renewed. But they've got about 850 people there now. It's ridiculous. They keep packing it full of people every single year.
Lord Botham.
Lord Botham. Well, he's a good one, though. I
No,
like
but
Lord Botham.
Services to cricket.
Yeah, why not?
I think we should have Lord Graham, services to broadcast.
Yes,
With
and I could
300
pop
quid a
down
day,
there. I could pop down there for lunch after the show.
bit of snifter, glass of wine, bit
I've
of a
had tea
gown
there.
on.
I've actually got two friends in the House of Lords.
I think
which
you'd
is quite
suit
unusual.
Ermine.
Baroness Fox is one,
Right.
and Jack McConnell is the other, who's the former First Minister of Scotland, before Labour
Got a lot of
lost it all.
Scottish friends.
Well, I'm Scottish. Graham is my name. It's it's
I
a
think
man.
Kyle is.
You
then,
know
do
a
you
little
think
bit
that's
too
not-
much
I think
about
Kyle is
Scotland.
Lockout.
Kyle is
Scottish.
a
My father was
Scottish
half
name.
Scottish. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There we are. Now, my final
Very
nomination
suspicious.
is
What is-
Extinction Rebellion.
Oh,
Extinction Rebellion, or Just Stop Oil, or as I like to call them, Just Stop Whining. You know, because over the course of the Easter
I
holidays,
can't move. My
I know.
face is stuck. I do apologise.
Over the course of Easter holidays, it's always in the holidays because most of the people in it are either students or teachers, right? Some of them work at the NHS. They had an NHS faction demonstrating on one of the bridges the other day, and this woman was like, "Oh, don't worry, I'm on annual leave." Right, you work for the NHS. They've got the biggest backlog in the history of the NHS. Why the hell are you demonstrating on Lambeth Bridge about something that's not going to happen, i.e. the end of the world? And they're all convinced. They're all like that bloke that used to walk up and down Oxford Street with "The end is nigh," you know, on his billboard. They're completely and utterly like a cult.
Well, they
now.
think that humanity is going to be wiped out, but they also think that humanity is a cancer and a plague on the
Yeah.
planet.
And they
Probably
also-
more people are going to die from that NHS backlog than are going to
Well,
die
I-
from
I-
I mean,
climate change.
we had somebody on and he was about 11, and I'm not even joking, 15. And there's this big thing
I saw
Dave
that,
was telling me. They put forward these younger kids because of I don't know.
the
so
Greta
you can't
effect.
bully them.
And no, but I was really nice and I talked to him. And what I said to him was, which is what I'd say as well, I think, you know, you live in a democracy, you should be able to complain. They're never, though, none of these unwashed people, right, and that's what they are, by
Yeah.
the way, none of them have had a wash in ages, They are not going to get any of the British public on side whilst they continue to disrupt normal people's lives to the point where you're in trouble if you want to get to a hospital because somebody's... They're not going to win any argument.
I think they've lost the room.
They all say, you know, these ones who have chained themselves into buildings and stuck themselves to things, they all say that, oh, I really wish I didn't have to be here and I've been forced to be here because it's the only way I can have a voice. No, you take part in democracy like everyone else.
Absolutely.
And if your ideas are not popular and you don't sell them well enough, then you won't succeed.
I mean,
it doesn't mean that you can disrupt everyone's life, because this is going in the direction of eco-terrorism.
It is.
I completely agree.
I think they should be treated like terrorists. And if the Green Party was so popular, how come they got one MP?
Yeah,
You know.
I mean, I have this argument with my kids and they say, don't you care about the climate? And I go, I do care about the climate, but I also care about the fact there's a cost of living crisis and people can't heat their houses or get an operation sorted or go to see their GP or fill their car with petrol. I just think it's about perspective. And I think
because of these people, by the way, there's a shortage of oil now because they blockaded all the oil terminals. So a lot of old families who need heating can't get it.
And I just think it's the wrong look. I'm with you. It almost feels like they're holding a gun to the head of the rest of us. Is that terrible? See that woman that literally was in a Range Rover trying to get to her mother, and she's been prosecuted for running over one of their foot or something.
They present themselves as being the David to Goliath.
Yeah.
But actually, there's no other side in the debate.
No.
All of the people who disagree with them or are critical of particular aspects of it get tarred as being climate deniers and are put alongside racists and misogynists and all sorts. You see climate denier in lists of things that are totally unrelated, and they're presenting themselves as being this sort of underdog, when in fact they have dominated the conversation for how many decades now? And now we have the government putting forward this new GCSE in climate change, which is just going to be another Trojan horse for them to
There's a GCSE in climate change.
It's coming.
Natural
Forget
history.
English and maths.
Yeah, don't worry about that. No.
Another bogus GCSE.
It's not a science subject, mind you. So I mean, they just.
But it would be very useful even if they just taught it in other sciences at school. That what the other position is, that there are some people who have a very reasoned opposition to the narrative around climate change,
I agree.
and that they are not climate deniers like Holocaust deniers.
No, of course not.
They're just people who have a different perspective, and that you should be engaging in conversations with them rather than just trying to silence them and bully everyone else into doing what you want.
Absolutely right.
Completely agree.
I think it's a very good nomination, actually. Myself.
I think it's the best. I still think the hot cross buns.
Well, listen, this is now the time.
Nobody else.
This is now the time to pick who it is going to be, the plank of the week. So we've got a bit of time, so we can do it properly. Why don't you, Jeremy, pick your favourite one of Emma's? Emma's, tell them.
By a mile, there's only one for the whole table to pick, and it's that ridiculous Archbishop of Canterbury. Completely with Emma.
So we go with the Church of England.
Absolutely, the Church of England.
Okay.
Completely with you.
All right. So in that case, you should pick mine, I suppose, shouldn't you?
Extinction Rebellion.
Extinction Rebellion. Okay, so Church of England, Extinction Rebellion. I should choose yours then. I don't think I can put the Hot Cross Vicar in as well, because then it'll seem like some kind of attack on Christianity. They'll have 2 out of 3 of the planks of, religious.
No, you're going to go for Harry and Meghan.
I think it's got to be Harry and Meghan, isn't it? It's got to be.
Yeah.
So we've got Harry and Meghan. We've got the ridiculous Archbishop and Extinction Rebellion.
It's a good crop, isn't it?
That's pretty good, isn't it?
Good crop.
What do you think?
I can't change from Welby. I think it absolutely sums up what's wrong with the church. Sorry, I just keep your noses out. If you prefer Extinction Rebellion, you've sort of done that before. I feel
we have. I think Welby's definitely top of the pops for this week.
You guys decide.
I think Welby.
Not the hot cross bun, no.
The hot cross bun man can be 4th.
The leadership of the Church of England.
I
just think it's a great nomination because you sort of miss the point, don't you? Again, a bit like, just do what you're supposed to do. Keep your mouth shut.
Just do what it says on the tin.
Don't use your position to push your left-wing politics on
And his
people.
job is to be leading the church. The leadership of the church is supposed to be leading the church.
And is this supposed to be
they're
unbiased?
They're like a woke corporate. They're not interested in
certainly
Christianity.
shouldn't. I mean, if they want to give moral guidance, that's one thing, but not party political moral guidance, i.e., all Tories are absolute scum.
They're excluding real Christians who hold traditional beliefs, and they are running the church like a woke corporate.
Can I ask you a quick question? Because you are religious, you and your partner. Does this put you off? Does this make you ask serious questions about the Church of England?
I think that there's a serious problem with the Church of England. Absolutely, I do, and I've thought that for a very long time.
There we have it.
I love it.
So, the Church of England, in the form of Archbishop Justin Welby, is Plank of the Week. We'll see you next time.